Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Today, again, always a special day, but we've got Peter Sharples coming on the show today, and he's going to talk about everything about his story and how he's got into the position he is today, but I'm going to let him explain all of that. So, Peter, thank you very much for coming on the show all the way from sunny England, Liverpool.
Hiya, Steve. Pleasure to be on. It is actually sunny here, yeah. We are just about to go into the winter months, so the rain, unfortunately, is on its way. So we've got the last bit of sunshine today.
And you're from Liverpool, and so Liverpool's your team?
Yeah, Liverpool's my team, yeah, always has been. Age of, I don't know, 4 or 5 I can remember back to. So, you know, with the Shankly days and then the Bob Paisley days, the Joe Fagan. So, yeah, it's in the DNA.
To be quite honest with you, it's probably the biggest they've got the bigged following of football fans here in Qatar. Liverpool.
Yeah, I think worldwide as well. It's phenomenal the success they've had in the last couple of years. You know, Jurgen Klopp he's a fantastic manager. He came with great pedigree anyway. But I think that what he did, he engaged with the club and the fans to understand the club. And I think you listen to all other managers who've come and gone and players. There's a lot of pressure on you when you go there. You know, the minimum is to win the league. And albeit 30 years with a couple of close calls and Champions League, European nights are just fantastic at Anfield, and all the great managers have said that as well. It's like no other. But you have to buy into the city, you have to buy into the club. It's a passionate fan base. Same with the Evertonians as well. You know, there's lots of Evertonians and Liverpool fans in the same family, and Merseyside's a different area to everywhere. You couldn't see Arsenal and Spurs fans sitting side by side, or United in City, but you can in Liverpool. You know, you can quite happily. I've got great friends and even family members who are Evertonians, and we have a good laugh. There's a bit of banter, sometimes a little bit overboard, but you know, at the end of the day, we can sit next to each other.
What was it like after? And I know that Jurgen Klopp has done some amazing things, and sometimes he's not always. He's done really good, and he's been building, but he didn't have the easiest times, right? He went through a patch, and people thought that he was kind of they thought he should have got more success by now, and then all of a sudden, bang, he gets everything.
Yeah.
Gets it right.
Yeah. He's methodical in what he does. You can't build overnight, and if you're going to create something that's going to last, he's done it the right way. And he did say when he first came in, he said, if we're sat here in 4 years, we'll probably have one Premier League. And he was right in what he said. It just takes time. Type of football he plays with a high intensity press, which is similar to futsal, with a high press, demands a lot on the players. It is very, very tiring the way he plays. So to get them type of players through, and this is where futsal, not just because it's a professional sport in its own right, this is where futsal can help football players become better football players because of the technical advantages it gives you.
Before we get,
it's just to go back to your point, Steve. Sorry, what has it done? It's been phenomenal to be honest, and to win it by so much as well. To keep that intensity that Liverpool had from last season when they pushed City all the way. It's just phenomenal, and it's the Holy Grail. Admittedly, it's been a little bit saddened by obviously the worldwide coronavirus and not being able to celebrate it properly in the streets with 1 million people. That's what Liverpool have when they win a trophy. There's 1 million people come out on the streets.
And what I'm trying to get over before we talk about your story is that how important sports is to people in this.
I think that's been realised now with coronavirus and them not being there. I speak to a lot of guys. It's just not the same because the fans are there. So yes, we want to see the footballers back on the field, and it takes great mental strength for them to get over the fact that there aren't fans there. And I think a few teams did struggle with that initially.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I agree, and I think the away teams now are not so much in fear because there's, you know, not 50,000 fans cheering on the back, calling them this white, you know. So as without being rude. So yeah, I think it's sad. I just find it sad, you know, that we can't find anything to hasten the fans back and give them what they love. And you know, I know guys who just go to work. They're not even interested in work, and all they live for is Liverpool playing on Saturday. That's it. And if it's away, even if it's an away game, they go, right, okay, you know, bacon sandwich, 10 o'clock, I'm in the pub by 12, I'll game myself up for them. And that's their life. That's the way it is here. And no matter who you ask, that's what we are. So I think I've always said, and obviously on stuff we've exchanged with prior to this, you know, I've always said sport will be vital in the recovery from this pandemic throughout the world, and I think we've got a duty, certainly to the kids currently, who will probably be more affected than anyone else because of the lost education bit, you know, the continuity of how they go on, you know, they haven't been able to be coached at this, that, and that. So there's a lot of problems there. So sport, as we know, because it releases so much energy and you're engaged with it as well, it's really vital that we get back as soon as we can, and certainly with parents and spectators, even at the grassroots level, because it's missed. It's seriously missed. And I do feel, you know, some people say, well, you know, the footballers run that much money, you know, who feels for them? But that's not sustainable, as we know, without the fans. So we do need to get the fans back in as quickly as possible.
Because, again, it's a massive part of people's life, because they go to work, all they're going to work for is support their family and to have that little release at the weekend where they can go and follow their teams. And as you said, they follow all over. I had Michael from Bayern Munich. He's the #1 fan. I call him the #1 fan. And he travels all over the place. And he's got a round trip of 500 kilometers to get, and he goes to every game. He goes to every game. He's just incredible. And it is for Liverpudlians. And there was when I was a young kid, and I was from Bristol, but I remember we beat Liverpool 1-0 to stay in the League One at that time. Joe Royal scored the goal.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, it kept us in the. It wasn't the Premiership. It was League One.
First Division, the old First Division. Yeah, I remember it.
And I remember the people like Ray Clements, Keegan. Everybody wanted to be Kevin Keegan with his #7.
Yeah, they did.
Oh my word! It was a classic team, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they're still household names to this day. They didn't play for money because there was no money in the game. I had the privilege of meeting Emily Hughes twice.
Oh,
while I was serving in the Royal Navy, and he was guest of honour twice at a regimental. You know, regimental in terms of the army, like you were, but you know, it's the same for the Navy. You know, a mess dining in night, and he was just phenomenal. What a love! He would have played. He would have paid Liverpool to play. That's how much it meant back then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they loved Shanks. You know, they still call him. Excuse me, Steve. They still call him. You know, the dad of Liverpool, which he is. He's you know, and then the sons of Liverpool with Paisley and Fagan and Ruben Bennett and all the rest, you know, and Ronnie Moran, and the list goes on. And it was wonderful to see that team. You know, and they still sing the Fields of Anfield Road, and in it is King Kenny and Stevie Highway. You know, so they are still remembered. They will never, ever fade away. And a lot of them still do a lot of good work for the club. Some are ambassadors for the club. You know, John Aldridge, I met him what a guy John Aldridge is. He again, he would have paid Liverpool to play in that red shirt. So you know, and I think what Klopp has done as well, and there's a lot of players who've gone to Liverpool who've openly said they could have gone to other clubs, you know, United, and for a lot more money, but they just want to play for that club. And when Torres spoke to Thiago a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "No, you got to go." Coutinho said, "No, you have to go." And there's regret there because they've left and it didn't work out for them, did it?
Yeah.
So, you know, so you got to be careful. But when you're at Liverpool and you're on the top, you are adored, and loyalty is everything to the Liverpool fans, and they'll back you to the hilt. You know, and we always talk about the 12th man. And Shanks used to say, you know, and I can see them sucking the ball on the back of the net. You know, and that's. It's European nights are like that, and you know, John Terry and Frankie Lampard, bless them, when 2005 in the semi-final Champions League second leg at Anfield, they walked out and they just couldn't believe the noise. Said it was they couldn't play the foot, you know, it was intimidating. So it is like that, you know, and it's great that we are competing. I think all footballers in the professional game, they just want to be able to compete at a good level. I think as long as you're competitive and the fans see that and you're giving your best every week, I don't think there's ever an issue with the fans. It's when you don't try and you always seem to be injured and you're sitting on the bench with 65k going in your bank account every week. You know, fans get pretty, you know, annoyed with that, and rightly so as well. You know, it's a lot of money, which some people take 2 years to earn that, and then they're getting it in a week. So there's lots of pros, and obviously there's negatives to it, as we all know. But yeah, it's fantastic to see us win that. I mean, it does go me when they say, "Oh, you've never won the Premier League," but we'd won it 18 times before. You know, just because it's a difference, right? You know.
I think it's just you were able to say that about Liverpool, and it's like even with anyway, Liverpool's a great story. This isn't your Liverpool story. This is your story. So, can you tell me? You just mentioned on it. You were in the Navy. You've done so many years in the Navy.
12.
How did you then, what happened to you then? How did you get out and you got involved in the community, got involved in it, and what did you get involved with?
Well, I was always football mad, and I was lucky enough to have an apprenticeship, albeit very short, with a local team. When I joined the Navy, I played all around the world, and it was wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. To be given, you know, no matter what ship you're on, every time you go into a port, so it would be, I mean, I played in Brazil as well back in '84, you know, and it was just a phenomenal experience. So the Navy gave you that, I mean, you're ex-Army yourself, so you know about these opportunities that you're given, and you need to embrace them. So when I came out, I was an air traffic controller in the Navy, but football was still my passion, you know. But as a kid, I always played five-a-side as well, a lot of five-a-side. So I was always taken with five-a-side because you were constantly running and touching on the ball. So when I came out, I had various businesses that I've been involved and run with, and working over in Eastern Europe and doing convoy relief into Kosovo and Bosnia and all that. But I'd always lent my hand to football coaching. And within the community where I live, here in just outside Liverpool, I've been a community coach now for over 10 years, and I've had young boys. I've still managing the men's with my colleague, and the women's team as well. So I've had lots of teams over the years. I've done lots of sessions with other teams within our club, because we have 23 teams. We're in my local community club for all ages. So yeah, it's a big setup. We've probably got the best ground of pitches in the northwest of England, which had a lot of money spent on a couple of years ago after years of neglect. And they are like literally lawns, you know, they are perfect to play on. It's wonderful. So Sport England, local council, you know, and Berska Dynamo, which is the club, have put a lot of effort into it to give the kids good facilities to play on. And if you can play on good grass, it makes a difference to your footballing style. So we have 5 adult-sized pitches, and we have a 9-a-side pitch, and they all break down into 7s and 5s. So it's mowed once a week. My old big tractor comes along. We have a ride on one. So we have volunteers who go there. We spend a lot of time devoted to the community for the kids to get involved. The current under 14s for Berska, my lad plays there, my English lad, whose name's Benitez, by the way. His first name is Benitez.
I'm so glad that you brought that up.
I know we've mentioned this before, and people, I mean, yeah, whenever they go, you know, you can tell whether an Evertonian or a Liverpool, you know, Liverpool supporter, when you go, "What's your name, Benitez?" They go, "Oh, he is right, mate." And if he's an Evertonian, obviously, you can go away. You're not getting served. So yeah, but I coached them for 7 years. I don't do it now because obviously I'm so busy. I release them on, but I help if I need to. But last couple of years, I've taken them abroad, and I've tried to give them the experience of playing abroad in big stadiums and playing football for what it is, the beautiful game, and enjoying it. Take the pressure away. So 3 years ago. So
special is that? Let's get.
Oh, I mean, I can send you some pictures as well if you want to put it on your pot to show the kids just enjoying themselves. So what are we on now? 29 to 2018. So 2016 and 17, I took them to Benfica, and we played in the Benfica tournament in the stadium, and we won it twice. Okay, there's one trophy, and there's the other trophy. Okay, and it was fantastic. It's a 66,000 seater stadium to play in there. They had great time. Banned the iPads going, banned the phones going. Take away that aspect of it. Get back to being kids and just enjoying football. They play on the beach at night and eat together, play together, enjoy together. Swimming, everything. Nothing to do with the modern society we live in with the website. And then last year I took them to Barcelona to play in the new camp, and we lost 1-0 in the final, but still another amazing experience. And they'll live with that for the rest of their lives. And that was the experience I tried to give back to them, about what I'd enjoyed, traveling the world, playing football. And they aren't the best side. They're a very, very competitive side. But I've never said you must win at all costs. I don't want, you shouldn't do that at that age. But now they're getting a little bit older. I find the 13 to 16-year-old phase in a player is really difficult because they're growing up. Testosterone starts coming in, and girls, and all the distractions, and a lot of them walk away from football. But at that youth level, I just wanted to give them something that they would never ever forget. They've got the pictures. We've done individual trophies, replicas for them. We've held nights for them in another ceremony when we got back to England. We've had bouncy castles for them, so I've really tried to give back to them, what football is or sport is about as well in general, and how you should interact with it and use it as a positive tool, and the same for the men's team and the women's team. Men are a little bit harder to, because when the range between 18 to 31 in this current team. So the older ones are very hard to change their mindsets because they've already got that mindset.
Yeah.
So you need to change it at an earlier age. So hence with futsal, this is where we come back to it. If we get that in at an earlier age where we start. So I got onto that about, 7-8 years ago. And I was looking at the quality of the Premier League, and apart from the top couple of sides, I thought, it's a bit lacking on quality when you look at the Spanish league.
Sorry to jump in here because I just want to, so many people within the professional game, right? And I just want to put that over to people right now. What job do you do now, Peter?
Well, I run Liverpool Futsal Club with the chairman, Ronnie Johnson, and we also sit at the top of the National Futsal League in the UK. He's the chairman there, I'm the secretary, so I'm expected to lead on that, and drive the sport in the UK. And also we have a project ongoing with kind help from yourselves that we are building or creating infrastructure to take the game forward in the UK with lots of worldwide support. Which is fantastic, and the National Futsal League yesterday cemented a strategic partnership with Sporting Clube de Portugal, who are the current European UEFA futsal champions. Which we put it out on media yesterday late afternoon, I think, on all platforms, and the feedback has been absolutely tremendous. And talking with the UK representative, Jason, on our ideas over the last few months. He was looking to take futsal to another level, or integrate himself and trying to get sporting into the UK. When I came across him and exchanged everything that I'd been working on for 6-7 years, he went, "Oh, wow, you're 2 years ahead of where I want to be." So it was a natural conclusion to come together, pull resources together, so we could get more movement and more traction. And I think when you can pull someone like Sporting Club de Portugal into your portfolio for the right reasons, for education, for development, for tours, everything that I've already spoken about already so far, it just ticked every box. And they've got a passion for growing futsal anyway, with coach education, master classes, which will reach across throughout NFL in England. So the opportunity, honestly, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and with other organisations, and they're like, yeah, okay, but this one just had to go. It just had to go because it's a perfect fit.
And I'm lucky that enough that I've known you now. I've only known you for 3 weeks, I think it is, 3 or something weeks. And the one thing, we've had several calls in several kind of meetings, Zoom meetings, and your passion, the legacy that you're trying to create is just phenomenal when it comes to this futsal. And I don't know, and I know this, I'm in Qatar, so futsal to me is a little bit different. I've not really been accustomed to it. And just for the listeners, what is futsal? What?
Futsal, it was started 1930 back in Uruguay, and when you say 1930, go 1930.
Yeah,
it was just played on the streets and with the heavy ball. So if we go on to futsal's basics, it's played with a heavy ball, a size 4 ball, not a size 5, size 4, and it doesn't bounce. You know, you might get one bounce out of it, very low. So it's heavy when you play with it. So your technique to move that ball around has to be good. It has to be sharp. With it being a heavier ball, it's played on a international size court down to a national league court. International size is 42 meters by 25 meters. It doesn't sound big, but there's only 5 players allowed on the court, from each side, including the goalkeeper. So there's a lot of ground to cover there. Flat out, you will only get 3 or 4 minutes on that court. It doesn't bounce off the wall. It's a proper lined court as well. The flooring has to be specialised, so it absorbs the impact of the player. So with the knees and ankles, with Achilles and ACLs, PCLs, they're prone to go on hard. Well, I mean, there's people who played on concrete floors, so you can see the damage. And that's one of the problems we've had in the UK. We don't have the specific flooring, which is what I've been working on in dialogue with yourself. And it has produced the best players, or 90% of the best players in the world. So we go back to the likes of Pele.
And I'm sorry to ask that, is that genuine, that 90%?
Yeah. The best players who've ever graced football now are all futsal based. So we go to Pele, Maradona, Zico, Ronaldinho, Messi, Neymar, Xavi, Iniesta, Philip Coutinho, and probably the best player in the world at the minute, arguably, Kevin De Bruyne. He's Belgian, but he's a futsal player. So everyone says, how come he can do that with his 2 feet, and how come his passing is so good? How come his awareness is so good? All stems from futsal. And you can, like my number 2, Gary, who you've had conversation with, I'll just explain. He's an ex-police officer, counterintelligence for 31 years, but he's also the son of a famous Busby Babe and Tommy Spratt. And unfortunately, Tommy passed away about 18 months ago. And when I first introduced Gary into futsal, he couldn't really see it, but now it sticks out like a sore thumb. And he said when Thiago came on the field last week against Chelsea, instantly you could see he'd done futsal. Because the way he shifts the ball, manipulates the ball between his feet, and his passing's a lot sharper. He can pass without looking. And because you play in such a confined space, on a small court, your decision making has to be better. So you're already thinking of the pass before it comes in, your movement. So in football, we always coach pass and move, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, in futsal, you coach move and pass. That's it. So it's reversal. So you're always constantly thinking ahead. You don't panic when there's two players around you. Glenn Hoddle always said that as well. Glenn, you know, he said the sign of a good player is you can receive the ball in his feet, 2 or 3 players around them and not panic. But if you're a futsal player, that's what you're brought up on.
I don't know if Jason told you about the street soccer that we do in Qatar.
Yeah, he mentioned it slightly. Yeah, there's a couple of people in the UK, and what's his name? Keith Mabbott, who runs street soccer in the UK to help with the homelessness and all that. Like, you know, I might hook you up with him because they do a lot of it in the UK.
It sounds a similar type of thing. Okay, our pitches are only 27 feet by 18 feet, I think it is. And it is, again, it's about everything that you're saying about futsal. It's in a more confined space, and it's only for 3 or 4 minutes, but you know you've had a workout in 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah,
you do, yeah.
And I suppose now it's coming to me now, but because I'm using the experience of the street soccer that we do, it's like you touch the ball 500, 600% more than if you were on a normal game.
Yeah, in a normal game of football, you touch the. I was telling the players last night again at training. You know, you touch the ball about 3 minutes for 3 minutes in a game. Strikers even less. If you don't get the service, you don't touch it. So kids and the women who I introduced to it, they've said, "I don't want to play football anymore. I just want to play futsal," because they're always involved, and you develop better. So we have to get this into the kids at an early age, 6, 7 years of age. Now I've got great partners in America, in Dallas, City Futsal they're called, and they're the best set up in America, acknowledged as innovators in what they do. My eldest lad, Isaac, who's now 19, he spent 6 months in Dallas living there with my American business partner in 2016. Now, he was a very good footballer anyway. When he went over there to learn futsal, when he came back, he was different class. So that's what it did to him. And even the City Futsal guys, you know, who are Brazilian coaches, by the way. And their father is Argentinian, who's an ex-rugby union international for the Pumas. So the sporting world is very linked, and they were based at Santos, FC Santos in Brazil as well. So the DNA, again, you can see coming from that South American futsal, and that's how it's transpired. So we've got lots of great partners around the world who take futsal very, very seriously, play it competitively, and give kids an opportunity to constantly enjoy.
And you're planning on building this new complex in Liverpool, which is going to be...
Yeah, we've been on it. Yeah, we've been on it for, say, a few years. Coronavirus hasn't helped with, but we were always wanting to build one. However, the facilities come up that we can transform for a fraction of the cost, and it's ready to go. So I spoke with pre-planning, and we've got people who are happy to work on that for us now. We've got backing from Sefton Council in Liverpool, the local MP, Peter Dowd. His right-hand man said he would love to come down and open it up when it's official. We would have the ability to play one international size pitch, maximum size, or 2 international size pitches, minimum size, or 4 National League pitches, or 8 under-9 to under-12s pitches. Excuse me. Now, that is quite a lot. No one's got that in the UK. So when we go back to our earlier conversation about how passionate we are in Merseyside for football, there's a raft of kids who want to play futsal. The weather is a big problem here now, more than ever. Pitches flooded out. Councils don't spend the money on them. Parents don't want to be stood outside. In fairness, young kids don't want to stand outside anymore. They don't want to play in the cold. So, but the futsal is the way forward. And Ronnie, who I mentioned earlier on, chairman of Liverpool and the NFL, he started with a futsal facility at Tranmere, and it was only a small one, but it was great, and it still is. They've done a great job at Tranmere over the years, and it was just one big pitch which they could split into 2. They had over 100 teams playing there a month.
100 teams.
100 teams, yeah. That's what I'm saying. You know, so the futsal fraternity, certainly in the UK, I mean, Leicester have a brilliant setup, you know, that really engage with the youth down there. Manchester, the same. You know, some really top clubs in the UK, Cambridge. Yeah, Enfield. There's loads. Honestly, there's loads and massive setup. So, but the problem is the facilities, and we need to get the investment in to start the facilities. So the NFL have thrown their weight behind us at Liverpool to get this facility up and running. We've now secured with, as we've mentioned, with NFL and Sporting Lisbon. That gives us a lot more presence out there and belief in what we're doing. We've been in discussions with FC Barcelona legends, futsal legends, to come to Liverpool next June, 19th of June next year, to provide a futsal day. And I know Jason is working on the Sporting Lisbon aspect of Sporting Club de Portugal with that as well. So it'll be like a June. I know, yeah, I know. I just it's dead easy to just slip back to, but I know they don't like it. And apologies.
I got told.
Apologies, Sporting.
He told me no, not Sporting.
Yeah. So apologies.
Yeah.
And Jason's working with that as well. So we'll see some of Sporting legends over here, and we'll give the public a day on legends coming over, education. You know, the first Futsal Legends World Union, which will be launched. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity that we can embrace.
How many people are going to benefit from this in your area?
Thousands, just in the Liverpool area along the mist. It'd be thousands, and just down the road in Warrington, we have the biggest junior football league in Europe. You know, so the outreach is phenomenal for the kids. And what we want to do is not so much of a franchise model for money, but it's more of a being able to invest to put more for these facilities in strategically around the country. And I'd met the FA a couple of years ago, and the old chief exec there, Martin Glenn, who's now departed. And he loved the idea, and he was right behind it. And he said, "Look, can we have 2 or 3 of these facilities?" Because they could see how it would change the grassroots level. And if kids just played futsal up to about 12, 13, it would remove a lot of problems in grassroots football, and it would save money. I know that sounds daft, but the maintenance of these pitches, etc., it would save money.
I'm sorry to again. Would it improve the 11-a-side game? Would it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Ronaldinho. What a player, by the way. And hopefully he's coming next year as part of this legend. What a player. I mean, you just see but he went back to playing futsal after he retired from football, and he was still doing it, you know. And a lot of the old Barca and Real Madrid boys go back to playing futsal. So does it improve you? Yeah. So let you know, we go down the list. Pele, Maradona, again, Messi, and you know, Ronaldo, who's now at Portugal. You know, they grew up on futsal. That's what honed their technique. Yeah. So if we want to see better players, and this is what I said to Martin Glenn. I have a really dry throat today, so I apologise. If we want to win a World Cup again of football, okay, we have got to start the kids at an earlier age with futsal, because it's all about technique and quality, which you don't get at grassroots football. There's some great coaches out there, and I'm not dissing any coaches whatsoever, but if you can't play because of the weather, they're not playing, are they? Yeah. They're not doing anything. There's teams in Liverpool who haven't played football since last October because of the weather and then the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So there's teams folded. But if we give them the opportunity to play indoors at an earlier age, it's now part of the high school, secondary education, GCSE now in sport. Futsal's part of it. So it is slowly being introduced as the way forward. So the way I look at that is, do I want little Johnny stood out on that right wing on a cold Sunday morning, doesn't touch the ball, mum and dad are screaming because he's not getting the ball, and it leads to arguments, which it does, and anyone who says it doesn't, it does. Or do you want them inside, learning, touching the ball, and being involved and growing that way? That is the best, much better way.
I think that the one thing that I've learned with street soccer is that football's for everybody, and unfortunately, when you are a little bit overweight or you don't seem to push yourself to go and play that, because the full-size pitch is too much, and you don't want to look stupid, and you're going to be standing there, and it's kind of, it just had so many negative aspects to it. When there was everybody should be playing football. It should be something that everybody gets involved with. And I think with having a smaller pitch and being able to letting them have fun and let them find their way and think to themselves, it's only 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And all of a sudden you think you can manage it, although it all depends on how much you put in. And the more you enjoy it, the more you'll put in, right? So there must be the love of this for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I give everything to it. You know, I've never earned a penny out of it. I do it because I believe in it.
I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry again, because I do want people to understand that there's people out there that put their lives into this type of thing. And the reason why I wanted you to come on more than anything else was, one, to talk about futsal, because we had a conversation with my guest yesterday, Paul, and we touched on the subject of futsal. And I thought, yeah, come on, let's get Peter on. Let's talk about futsal, because I don't really know enough about it. And then when I started opening the doors, I'm thinking, Peter's got to come on and talk about it. And there was another aspect of you coming on, Peter, and that was because you give your time free. It's like all of the stuff that you do for the community and all that type of stuff, you're doing it because that's what you want to do. It's your desire. It's like, and I can only commend you for that. And I really do. And I know that we're helping you, and we're trying to introduce you to a lot of people that can help you find that solution in. But it's all about your work, Peter. It's just incredible. And I do appreciate you coming on the show. Honestly, you've done a fantastic job. And that facility, the amount that you're going to do for the young kids, and kids that probably wouldn't have got involved in football because it was too big. It was.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a common feedback we get. That's why some of them want the kids to do futsal, because there's not that stigma attached like you get with football. So yeah, that's a very good point, that Steve, to raise. Very, very good.
And it's like, and I've seen, because we've done the street soccer in Qatar, right? And again, it's a small pitch, but I've seen, and I'll bring his first name up. His name was Abdul Rahman, and he kept on coming to this, coming to us. We used to do it in Mia Park, which is a lovely, lovely park here in Qatar, a fantastic park. And we used to set these pitches up, and he would come. He was overweight, really overweight, and he knows he was, and I'm still in contact with him now, because it started his journey, because he felt that he can be a part of this. He didn't have to be afraid anymore, because it was a small type of pitch that he could be in control of. And he would come the first time, I tell you, and I'm not exaggerating, I thought he was going to, I thought we've got to pull him off, because he's just not going to survive. And then he just kept on coming back, where he was, instead of not being able to do 3 or 4 minutes, he's there doing 10 games. He's our best customer. He's coming back and coming back and coming back. And then he come up to me one day and he said, Mr. Steve, he said, I've lost 10 kilos. I've lost 10 kilos. And it's like, and I've had another guest on the show, which was, his name was Abood. And he literally looked up and he said, we've got to change that philosophy with kids. We've got to get them involved with other people that are involved, so that they want to be doing those things, that they want to be getting involved with. And then their weight, their fitness all goes, because they want to be doing that. It's not that you're pinpointing the fitness and the overweightness or obesity or whatever. You're doing it because your friends are doing it, and you feel that you can achieve that. And I think that what you're doing is just amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Steve. There's a
It's
lot of effort gone in, you know, and we've got lots of good people behind me to make this happen who've done a lot of sacrificing, you know, without anything back. It's just got to be believing it. I think what I need to mention as well is the project itself is not just futsal. There's a lot to it. You know, we talk about education. Now we've sort of partnered up with Liverpool, John Moores University, a couple of guys who I've spoken to at length about different aspects. And one of them's Tim Abraham. He was at Sky for 20 years as a presenter and the main cricket man there. And he's senior lecturer now at John Moores University. And it was interesting when we met him probably 2 years ago now. And he said that my students that don't get access to live sport, excuse me, and he said it hampers us when we're doing our courses in the university, because we have to get students to pretend to be a sportsman or an interviewer, etc. You know, so what we did last season, we gave them access to futsal live. So they brought the cameras down, they brought the microphones down, pre-game interviews, half-time interviews, match analysis. John Maxwell put great editing together as well. He's a senior screenwriter. So these guys came up and said, well, who's doing futsal really at the minute on the broadcast? And I said, well, not really, because one of the problems is the facility. But as long as we get the Liverpool facility up and running, then we can put the cameras in there, etc., etc. So John Moore then said, well, that's a fantastic idea, because then we can give them access to live sport on a permanent basis for the courses. And that's kind of how that came about. So I got a letter of intent signed by the director at John Moores. You know, we've been in regular updates prior to lockdown, but I do send updates anyway. But yeah, so to have them on board, and that education aspect as well can reach worldwide. I know we spoke about Qatar as well. So being able to offer a sport in England at John Moores University, that's a marvellous opportunity to come to Liverpool. So it does tick a lot of boxes. We're certainly focusing on mental health, which is very prominent at the minute. You know, I make no bones about, you know, I do suffer with mental health, and a lot of people just won't own up to it. But you've got to speak about it, because it will destroy you. And given this pandemic as well, I think it's going to be needed more and more than ever. So with sport at the centre, we can help. You know, we can advise. We can put them in touch with specialists. You know, within the Liverpool city and experts who can help people. And we really need to get a grip of this with the mental health, because of the pandemic. It's affecting so many people. It's sad to see. And then we look at physiotherapy. One of the things I was always annoyed at was, even as a semi-pro sportsman, or even a good grassroots player, bordering on going there, if you do your Achilles in, say, you know, you're on the NHS waiting list for 6 months, aren't you? You know, and then you might get seen. Well, what we're offering is, well, they can be instantly referred. So we did a lot of groundwork with clubs and organisations. They said, yeah, we just send them to you because you've got the expertise to fix them. So it would be in conjunction with the NHS and the CCG groups as well. But it would be a faster rehabilitation to get them back out there. And then we look at the sports science elements as well, which is, again, John Moores there and Dave Richardson, who's top man, is trying to identify injuries before they happen. And I know that might sound silly, but every person's body's different, and we have different weak points, we have good strength points. With the sports science now, it can tell us so much for preventative injuries, and that's another area. So what's happened in the past is, and this is why the top clubs spend so much money on sports science, you know, and everyone says, how do they need that many staff? Well, that's one of the reasons, sports science, you know, what they eat, how they sleep, they have their own tailored diet, they have their own tailored individual training program, what's good for them, what doesn't work for them, might work for other people, and that's how sports science works. And we test that. They do now, they can test. I mean, I suffered with weak ankles as a player. You know, with what they do now, I wouldn't suffer. So there's lots of preventative measures can be put in place, so they don't do an ACL and they're out for 6 months, 12 months, or an Achilles, you know. And obviously that saves the clubs money long term. And with just on that point with financial, when we met with Liverpool last year with the chief exec and the chief operating officer, we mentioned about the long-term fiscal strategy with futsal. If we do what we're saying we're going to do, which we will, we can produce players of the like of your Coutinho's coming through and Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as them, but they are certainly going to be, very good players. If you're bringing 4 or 5 of them off the production line, it's only cost you a small investment to get them there, and you're not having to go and spend £200-300 million every year to try and keep up. Chelsea have just spent £200 million, haven't they? It's going to take them time for that to bed in. You might not need all 4 or 5 of them players. You might be able to sell 2 of them. You might generate 150 million in revenue. So the long-term fiscal strategy for clubs, that's how they've got to address it. So they, so the money's going back into the club. That would also mean ticket prices could be lowered. More fans, the real fans can get back in. So there's a lot of strategy around that as well. So it's not just about that futsal element. As in playing, there's a lot associated with this that can have long-term benefits for everyone worldwide. And what we want to do is we want to grow our methodology, and certainly now with Sporting Club on board, we can go into all these countries, and there's massive untapped countries who can't play outdoor football because of the environment. If it's if it's an Asian country, it's too hot, you can't get the pitches. You can get indoor facilities which are air conditioned. So these countries can at least have a chance to produce some futsal players that maybe want to be football players in another country. So there's lots to this, Steve, that we can do long term.
Peter, how would they get you? Have you got a website? How would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can get in contact. They can get in contact through the National Futsal League website if they want. Our Liverpool one is currently under maintenance at the minute and having a few things added now with the Sporting Lisbon as well. So, but yeah, they can go onto the website of the NFL, nationalfutsalleague.com, or they can email. They can email me at ukfutsal.group@gmail.com. That's ukfutsal.group@gmail.com. And we'll provide any information that they want, if they want to look at starting clubs up, if they want support, anything. We are open to anything to help get this global.
I think Peter, I kind of, it's gone so quickly, and I do thank you for coming on the show. But I just want to finish it up by saying to anybody that's potentially thinking about this, it's all about putting back. And that's what they're trying to do here in Liverpool. It's trying to add things to the community, but it's also trying to develop people and giving them an opportunity to get out there and make a difference with their lives. They're making the difference. They've been making the difference for all of their lives, especially Peter. So now it's time to then start building on that platform that they've got already, and they're going to take it forward. So if anybody wants to get in contact with Peter, then you can do exactly how Peter just said, or just drop us a line on the web, on Facebook, and then we can get you in touch with Peter. But Peter, I wish you every success. You're absolutely driven, and it's driven for others, which is always the type of. That's why you're on the show today, because your selflessness is just incredible. You're brilliant, and I know it's not just you. I know that there's a big, massive team. I know Jason is getting involved in it, and I know that we had a chat with your other partner. It's just fantastic. I'm so glad that you came on the show today. Thanks for sharing.
Me too.
Did you enjoy it? Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to do anything you want to help. Certainly with Qatar and the World Cup coming up, there's lots of opportunities post World Cup.
That's what I want to do with you, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you at great length, because I think there's from an educational perspective, and then bringing people, bringing kids and youngsters over to Qatar to see exactly what Qatar has to offer.
Yes.
And it is just unbelievable. And the opportunities there are going to be incredible to do backwards and forwards with students. It's going to be, so there's going to be a lot that we're talking about. And but at this moment, I've just got to thank you for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I wish everyone well.
Everybody, a massive Liverpool supporter. I know that there's going to be a lot of people listening to the show today that's going to be shouting Liverpool. Yeah, you won the league. Let's see if you can do it again. Anyway,
well, my personal drive just before we go is to see Liverpool futsal win UEFA Champions Futsal League. That would, in my lifetime, if I could make that happen, then I would, I'd leave this earth a happy man.
Seriously, Peter, I've got to say, anything that you say to me, and we've had a few chats now, I believe you. Whatever you're saying that you're going to achieve, I know with your past history and what you've done and what you consider. Again, it's just selflessness. You're doing it for others, and that's recommendable. And again, that's why people like yourself are coming on to have a chat with us, because you are making this huge difference. And I thank you honestly from everybody listening today. Thanks for coming on the show, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on and kind of sharing it with us. Don't forget, even if it's just a like or it's a share or anything, just let us know you're there. Let us know that you've kind of listened to the story. Send any messages that you want, we'll reply. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Again, Peter, one more time, thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.